We are live. What is up, fight nerds and dirty gamblers? I am Erik, and this is Erik Bets Fights. Looks like we got about 5 live viewers already. That's pretty darn good for just starting the show. I appreciate that. Let's shout out the chat a little bit. Who we got in here? Blood Money MMA Bets. Cody, he was the first guy in here. First one here. Good to see you, man. That was me. I don't need to show my comment. Daz Files, he's always in here saying what's up to Blood Money. Sicky, one of our regulars, is always in here as well. Let's go. And then Daz, I love it when the regulars in the chat are all saying hi to each other in the chat, and we get that whole thing going on. That's great. I appreciate y'all being here. I'm guessing we'll see a few of the other the usual suspects popping in as well. There's Thomas. Love the vids, Erik. I appreciate that, Thomas. Thank you so much for popping in today. It is Thursday night, gang, and that means it's time for Big Money Bets. This is the show where I bring in a sharp guest every week. Sometimes I do solo shows. I fly solo once in a while, but I usually bring a guest in. We go over our favorite props and parlays for the upcoming UFC card, and that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to give you a little tiny bit of a recap on how things went last time. Let's just say they didn't go great, and I'm going to tell you why they didn't go great. They didn't go great because of one fighter. Well, I don't want to say because of one fighter. I don't want to blame him. I'm the one who made the choices, right? There's one fighter who ruined a lot of MMA gamblers and handicappers' nights, I think, and that fighter was Don'Tale Mayes. I put Don'Tale Mayes in my 2-leg parlay. He was my top guy, so therefore my 4-leg parlay and my 6-leg parlay were also busted. I can't blame him. But yeah, Don'Tale Mayes was in my 2-legger. Matthew Semmelsberger was in my 6-legger. But other than that, the rest hit. I had Moreno, Kosi, Morales, and Pantoja. But, it doesn't matter that 4 out of the 6 hit. It matters the order I put them in, and I put Mayes at the top, so that busted all of it. Sicky called it. He says Mayes. I knew it. Yeah, a lot of people were on him. As far as the props last week, one prop that did hit was Alexander Pantoja by sub. I got that at plus 350. I know it was out there as high as plus 400 or plus 450, so that was one that I was happy about. I did hit that one. It's been, for those of you who've been watching the show from the beginning, it's been a little bit of like a little bit of a dance of sorts as I figure out how I want to put these parlays together and which props I want to pick. Like in the beginning, my lowest money prop was like plus 500. I was just trying to pick all these props with really sexy numbers. And then it's like, you stop and think about it, and it's like, yeah, they've all got big numbers behind it, but those numbers don't matter if they're not hitting, right? So it's like, I got to start picking props with more reasonable numbers. So now I'm trying to balance it out. I'm trying to have a few that are a little more likely to hit, but still putting some crazy ones at the end. So, and we'll see what my guest has got in store for us today as well. We're going to go ahead and bring him out, gang. He is the man behind one of the fastest growing, I guess we could say, sub communities that we have in this MMA gambling community. It's actually he's the man behind NeverHedgeMedia, and NeverHedge, which was something I was actually following myself for a while. I had been reading the NeverHedge newsletter and that sort of thing, and then he messaged me one day out of the blue and was just like, hey man, I like your content and kind of wondering if you want to join in this whole NeverHedge thing. So that's how I got to be a part of this. We're going to ask him to tell us a little bit more about just kind of what NeverHedge is and how that whole thing got started. But let's go ahead and bring him in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kyle Miller.
What's going on, Erik?
Hey, how's it going, Kyle?
Good.
Awesome. Yeah, I was hoping we could start out by just having you just talk to us a little bit about, I don't know, I guess how you got involved in how you became an MMA fan, how you got involved in MMA gambling, and then also just kind of a little bit about NeverHedgeMedia, what that is, how it got started, what it's doing, and that kind of thing.
All right, yeah. Started watching the sport a long time ago now. I think I was in middle school. I just remember going to one of my friend's house, and we were watching Chuck Liddell. I forget which one it was, but I remember watching Chuck and being like, I really like this. And then I was kind of a casual fan for a while, and then I got more and more into it. Back when you would rent videos from, your local video store, I would go and rent some knockout videos. But yeah, it just grew from there. And then I started I'm from the Northeast. People in the Northeast tend to gamble. There's a big subculture, bookies. I had a bookie with Young. We'd place bets through him. And then back in the day, this was probably the 2010. I started doing what I was calling Miller Locks. And it was just, I would put my picks out, and it was basically just putting my picks out to my friends. Never really pursued anything with it. And then when COVID hit, my buddy Scott, who we did Miller Locks together, he like made the website for it. We decided we wanted to do something, so we started a little podcast, and we were doing crypto, NFTs, and sports gambling. At first, the NFTs and crypto took off. I don't know if are you familiar with Emacs?
No, not really.
Well, it was a cryptocurrency that was like the fastest growing cryptocurrency ever. It was featured by Floyd Mayweather. Well, we interviewed those guys. One of the guys leaked info, and it was having to do with having Emacs on Floyd's shorts. Long story short, it blew us up. Like, we were all over everywhere for that. Floyd's team saw it and ended up being like, fuck these Emacs guys, and it tanked the coin. The coin is gone. So we played a small part in tanking Emacs.
That's wild.
Which sucks for us because we had a bunch of it. But yeah, and then as we went, we got more and more into just strictly MMA. We still mess around with crypto and NFTs too, but I was always big into building a community, and that's what I tried to do right from the start. And we've been really lucky. We've got a great community of guys in the Discord, on Twitter, and in the newsletter. It's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can kind of speak as somebody who's been on both sides of the desk a little bit. Like I was somebody who was reading the NeverHedge newsletter myself, and I used to. One thing that I do a lot of times while I'm watching UFC cards and cards that I've bet on is, in addition to my own bets, I write down bets of some other people, other friends of mine and stuff too, just so I can kind of track their bets as well. I used to write down your bets from the newsletter and track your bets as I was going. And this was before I knew you or had ever talked to you or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of funny when you messaged me out of the blue one day. I was like, oh wow, this is cool, because I've been following this guy for a while. So
that's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Anything else you want to say before we go ahead and get started with the bets?
No, I'm ready to bounce back. I mean, we got crushed on Dana White Contender Series in a card where I felt like I made such good reads and it just didn't bounce our way. It happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been on a little bit of a skid myself. I think I've lost the last 3 events in a row. They've all been like pretty small losses, but still, it's like when I started, if you look at my Bet MMA tips, tracking it, when I started, it was like up and up and up. And I kind of got like unrealistic expectations. I was like, man, this isn't that hard. Like, I'm pretty good at this. I've been winning like almost every time. And now it's like, I haven't been losing bad or anything, but for the past like several months, it's been just a little bit up, a little bit down. Like the number of units I have right now is the same number of units I had like 3 or 4 months ago, because it's just been kind of sideways. But that's better than losing your ass, I guess. But
I've been the same. At one point, I was up like 50 units this year, and now I'm close to even. I think I'd have to do the math on it.
I think I'm only up. I'm up about 55 units total since I started tracking, but only like 13 of those units are this year now. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and push forward, and we're going to find some of these bets that are going to help us dig out of those holes and keep pushing upward like that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into the 2-leg parlay. So I was thinking this is something that, most nights when I'm trying to fall asleep and I start just thinking about whatever random crap pops into my head. And I started thinking, there's a lot of guys in the community who kind of have their thing, their Uncle Wheezy has the ass shaving of the week. Lou Betya has the yam bags. Brian Petrie from MMA Takes has the slime ball parlay. So I was like, we have the 2-leg, the 4-leg, and the 6-leg parlay here. And I was like, I should really come up with names for those. And I was like, well, it's 2 legs, 4 legs, and 6 legs. I could just do an animal with 2 legs, an animal with 4 legs, and an animal with 6 legs. And the first ones that popped into my head were ostrich, hyena, and dung beetle. And this is literally while I'm just laying there falling asleep. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be true to myself and roll with the first things that popped into my head. So they are now called the ostrich, the hyena, and the dung beetle. That is an official announcement. Awesome. So yeah, we'll start out with the 2-leg parlay, which we're calling the ostrich. since you're the guest, Kyle, I'll give you the option. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to kick it off?
I'll have you kick it off.
All right, will do. All right, so the two-legger, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's always been a little bit like I try to hit, kind of like what you do a full card parlay as well. I was going to say kind of like Cody Savage's PRP, the idea being to try to get pretty close to even money on that top ticket. So, I'm trying to stay away from the big, like minus 900 favorites and that sort of thing. So there's always a little bit of risk in trying to get to even money or close to it with those first two legs. But my first leg is the guy that I'm heaviest on in my bets this week, and that is Jamahal Hill, who's sitting around minus 300 right now. This is a card where, frankly, if Jamahal Hill loses, it's going to be a rough card for me because I've got him tied into a whole lot of different things. But, I think it's a good spot for him. I think, Santos is somebody who's, he's 38 years old now. He's working on a couple of bad knees. He's still dangerous. He can still have those moments, but I think Jamahal Hill just has the speed and the counter-punching ability that he's going to be able to deal with what Santos can offer, I think. And then my second leg at minus 180 is Vicente Luque. And frankly, for me, that fight, it's a little bit risky. He's not a huge favorite, but for me, that fight largely just comes down to Luque having more ways to win. Jeff Neal obviously is dangerous as a striker, but Luque is equally dangerous as a striker, and he also has the submission ability to fall back on if he looks to go that route. And those two together, I end up with plus 107. So I was able to get a little bit over even money on my first two legs there.
I like it. I like both those fighters. They're both in my parlays as well. So how do we do it? Do I just go right into mine or?
Yeah, usually it's kind of, if you've got any, I guess you already gave your comments, you used those guys as well. So usually it's just kind of, if you've got any thoughts on what I put out there, go for it. Otherwise go ahead and jump into yours.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I have Hill, Jamahal Hill in mine. Like you said, he has all the advantages. It's not going to be a guy, I don't think, like Santos, who's going to beat Hill. But my second leg, I'm going with Brian Battle. I like that he's dropping down to 170. I know it's his first cut, which is a little scary. But following him on social, he looks good. And I think he should have advantages throughout this fight. I'm not sure he gets the finish, but he really just has to avoid the big KO power, which he does a great job of. He showed that in the Tresean Gore fight. And I think he gets the win, and that gives me minus 130. So not plus money for the first leg, but still value.
Pretty close. Yeah, I like it. I want to shout out Dale in the chat here. He said, "What the hell is going on? Erik is missing his pull-up bar. Erik blinked twice. If you're okay." I was wondering if anybody was going to mention that. I literally just moved it out. I moved it right outside the room here, but I moved it like I was sitting here probably less than 10 minutes before it was time to kick off the show, and I was like, you know what? That thing kind of bugs me being there. I want like, they're so far away you can't really see them anyway. But I was like, I'd like it if you could see my posters better. So I decided to move that thing out of the room. And I kind of got it lodged in the door, and my wife's not home. And I was like, shit, am I even going to get this thing out of here? But anyway, yeah, it's still here, Dale. I just moved it into another room because I like how the background looks right there. But yeah, cool. I like those choices, Kyle. And in fact, I like those choices so much that as we move into my four-legger, my third leg is going to be Zach Pauga at about minus 245. I just think he's going to be the more consistent striker, the more technical striker. I just think he's going to put out volume. He's got the straighter, snappier punches, whereas Usman just kind of comes with those big overhands and throws hooks from his pockets. He's potentially live to find a knockout, but I don't think that's going to happen here. I think he's going to be too slow. I think Pauga is going to be able to use his movement and pick him apart. And then my fourth leg is Brian Battle at about minus 265, minus 270 range. I feel the same way as you feel. I mean, it's kind of, I really feel like Sato's only shot here is to find the KO. Battle's going to be doubling or tripling him up on volume, I think. Battle's also, potentially live to find the sub here. Sato's been subbed, I think, 3 times. We did see him survive like literally almost an entire 15 minutes on the ground with Gunnar Nelson. Yeah. But even so, I think Battle should I actually lean toward Battle to win a decision there, but I think he should be able to come out with the win there. And reviewing again with those four, we've got Jamahal Hill, Vicente Luque, Zach Pauga, Brian Battle comes out to plus 302. And I like that. I think that should hit.
I like that a lot as well. Again, we're on the same page. Pauga, I talked about him last week with Curtis Blades. He's one of Curtis Blades' guys, training partners. And he said, I don't know if you saw the interview with Pauga, he said the same thing you did. He expects to come out and see Usman winging overhands. He knows what to expect, and he said he's going to be the better guy out there, and I have to agree. I switched it up a little, and I went for my third leg, it's going to be Vicente Luque. Like you were saying earlier, I think he's the better fighter everywhere. He can strike, and besides striking, that's all we've seen from Jeff Neal. I can't see him out grappling Luque, and that's how Luque has gotten beat. And I can't get over Jeff Neal, how he looked against Neil Magny. I just can't get over it. He looked so bad. If Magny can do that, then Luque can really beat him up. And then I'm going Ariane Lipski as my fourth leg. Priscilla Cachoeira is not good. She didn't win her last fight, even though she got the win. Lipski's been looking for a striker. Cachoeira doesn't go for takedowns. I think she's only got one in her UFC career. Lipski's going to piece her up, maybe even get a finish here. And that gives you plus 333.
I like it. I love the read on Cachoeira. Just like, she's not very good. It's always fun when you can. Yeah. It's fun when you can say that about a UFC fighter, right? About how obviously there's levels to this stuff, but sometimes it can just be like, this guy's just not good. Yeah. Or this woman's just not good, whatever it might be. Awesome. Let's see. What does Sicky have to say? Luque worries me, man. He has close fights with Bum. Neal's just right. Yeah. And that does worry me a little bit too. Like I think the fight probably does play out closely. I am a little bit worried about that as well. Daz says Lipski not that great either. Am on catch a cheating.
Yeah, Lipski's not that good, but she is a striker. She gets beat by grapplers. I think catch a cheating is too hittable.
Good call. All right, moving on to the 6-leg parlay, then the dung beetle, as I'm calling it. So for my 5th leg, I went with Sergey Spivak at about minus 250. To be honest with you, I don't love that line, but I was having a hard time finding a 5th and a 6th leg that I liked, especially with not really wanting to touch the minus 700s and the minus 900s and that kind of thing. So I don't love the line on Spivak, but I do think this is a very winnable fight for him. I mean, I think it's largely going to come down to whether he can get takedowns, and I think he probably can. He could find himself in some hairy situations on the feet if he's not able to, but I do like Spivak to be able to wrap up Sakai and take him down here and potentially find a finish. And for my 6th leg, this is a guy I'm actually pretty confident in, but I put him lower down simply because his opponent does definitely have a path to victory. But my 6th leg is Josh Quinlan at minus 230. I'm actually going to say, I'm going to show my hand a little bit and say that I'm going to talk more about this fight when we get to the prop section. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save my discussion of this fight for a little bit later on, but all 6 legs together, that's Jamahal Hill, Vicente Luque, Zach Pauga, Brian Battle, Sergey Spivak, and Josh Quinlan. We come out to plus 708.
So we have like nearly identical parlays, because my final 2 for the dung beetle is Pauga and Spivak. I think Pauga is going to be too fast. He's more athletic than Usman. I think he'll finish Usman too. I think I don't think it'll be first round, but I think he gets the finish eventually. Usman's going to gas, and Pauga's going to be there. And then we got Spivak, and like you were saying, he has all the advantages in this fight to get it to the ground. And when he gets to the ground, he's a beast down there. And his ground and pound's nasty, and he has good submissions. That gets you plus 702. So we're right around the same in our parlay.
Yeah, it came out. Which did we only have one leg that was different? Ariane Lipski and Josh Quinlan, was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Well, hey, that's good. We were both avoiding the super heavy chalk and picking the slightly chalky fighters that are likely to win. Yeah, cool. I think that's a good sign. Awesome. We're going to go ahead and move into the second part of the show. This is the part of the show we call Highly Improbable, where we talk about our favorite prop bets on the card. The idea is that we give our 6 favorite props. We start with the smallest number and work our way up to the biggest. But if you've got other, a lot of times there's like more than one prop I like on the same fight. If you've got like bonus ones you want to throw in while we're talking about it, that's totally fine too. Okay. I'm gonna kick it off with my first one. This is the second time. I kind of apologized for myself the first time I did this, but a couple weeks back I gave out a prop with a minus sign in front of it instead of a plus sign in front of it. And who does that, right? Who bets a prop with a minus sign in front of it? The one I gave out a while back was Nathaniel Wood by decision at minus 150 versus Charles Rosa. And it ended up being the only prop that hit on that, that I put out on that card. So, and it was one of my favorite bets on the whole card. So once again, I will be giving out a prop bet with a minus sign in front of it. I always want to mention that with these props, I don't always bet all of them. I don't want to give the impression that I'm betting all of them if I'm not. So I tell you which ones I am actually betting. This first one is one that I have bet already. It's Jamahal Hill by KO at minus 140. I don't love that minus sign, like I said, but he's got 5 rounds to work with. And I think Jamahal Hill is going to have the combination of speed and power and countering ability that at some point in that 25 minutes, I think he's probably going to be able to put Thiago Santos away. So that would be my first prop. Jamahal Hill by KO minus 140.
Yeah, I love that. If it was a 3-round fight, I'd be tempted on the decision, but 5 round, I think he comes up with the KO.
Yep.
My first prop is barely plus money. I went Terrence McKinney by TKO plus 120. I thought about grabbing the inside the distance, and that was minus 160. Minus 400.
Right. Yeah. It's minus
the distance. Yeah.
And he's
Terrence
minus
McKinney.
200 in round 1. Yeah.
Because it really is a crapshoot. It's a coin flip. Is he going to get the TKO or submission? I think he gets the TKO. He has heavy hands. Gonzalez has been dropped before. I like Terrence by TKO. I think it's a very high percentage chance that happens.
And you said that was at like plus 120?
Yeah, plus 120.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. It's a bummer that the excuse me, that the bookmakers caught up because 2 fights ago was it? Against Ferris Ziem, Terrence McKinney was plus 900 by sub.
Yeah.
And then he did get a sub, and now
Insane.
So now they're putting his sub and his KO line are about the same. They figured it out, like, oh, this kid does that too. So yeah, we don't get as good a number anymore. But yeah, I like that a lot. It's such a tough fight to, when you've got a number like, the minus 1,000 range, it's so incredibly likely that not only that Terrence McKinney finishes, but that it happens in the first round. But the bookmakers are on top of that, and even the lines for him to finish in the first round are like barely touchable. But yeah, that's a spot. You did find a spot that seems bettable even in a fight with those kind of numbers. So good call. My second one, and I'm actually going to give out 2 here because I did actually bet both of these. Josh Quinlan by KO at plus 125. And also Josh Quinlan by KO in round 1, which I saw it out there. I looked at best fight odds. I saw it out there as high as plus 335. I got it at plus 290, but it's up over plus 300 in spots. And I've talked about this on a couple shows earlier this week already, but about how, certain fighters get tagged with like, this guy has a bad chin. But just like anything else in the sport, there's levels to this shit, and I think there's levels to having a bad chin. Look at a fighter like Andrei Arlovsky, who is, tagged with having a bad chin 10 years ago already, and nobody's finishing him anymore. Jason Witt is a guy who cannot take a punch, period. Right. I mean, I don't think that's even exaggerating. Like, I think not only is it possible, I think it's fairly likely that this fight is over as soon as Jason Witt is close enough to Josh Quinlan for Josh Quinlan to punch him. Like, it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but I literally think it could play out that way. He might just throw that big hook and drop him right there. And so, yeah, I think Josh Quinlan by KO is is a very likely outcome here. But I do. This is a fight like I mentioned when we were going over the parlay. This is a fight where Jason Witt has a clear path to victory, right? If Quinlan can't catch him. If he can't catch him on the feet, then Witt very likely wrestles his way to a GNP stoppage or a decision. So it's risky. It's not that Jason Witt can't win this fight, but I just think the guy can't take a square punch, and Josh Quinlan hits very, very hard and throws his punches very, very accurately. And I just think it's going to probably spell disaster for ye old vanilla gorilla.
Yeah, I mean his chin is horrible, like you said. I have props around that fight a little farther down.
Cool.
And I'll save a little bit more for that. But my second one, I have Zach Pauga by TKO at plus 200. These are the big men. I think he's got a lot of advantages in this fight, especially standing. Usman wings punches. He's hittable, and Pauga's fast and very athletic. And he's going to find that button. Whether that's the first round or not, I'm not sure. But I like the TKO prop at plus 200.
Nice. Now that transitions nicely into my next prop. But now you've got me kind of rethinking this a little bit, because the one I went with for my third, and this is a spot I really like here, is at plus 165. Zach Pauga by decision is what I was leaning toward. But now I feel like I need to go back and watch a little more and think about that, because I was thinking, I think Pauga will go ahead.
I was going to say he does tend to go to decision. If you look at his record, I just question the gas tank of Usman, and I think that'll lead to a finish for Zach.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. We could definitely see Usman totally fall off a cliff, if especially if we get into the third round. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I might have to rethink that one. That's one that I haven't bet yet. I do have Zach Pauga in a parlay that I've already made, and I think I will. I have been, even though from the time I started this show, which was like 18 weeks ago now, I haven't always bet the parlays. But I've been starting to do that. Last week I didn't bet the 2, the 4, and the 6, but I bet the 6, and so I've been starting to actually bet those parlays, because I'm putting them out on the show. I'm doing the work. I might as well, right? So So we'll see. I definitely do like Pauga to come through. I like him in the parlay, but I might have to rethink that decision line there. But that's what I had down for my third one. What were you thinking for your fourth, Kyle?
I'm going Ariane Lipski inside the distance at plus 250. I thought about the TKO prop because I'm leaning that she gets the TKO. Cachoeira has shown an excellent chin, and I get beat by stuff like this all the time. But she takes way too many shots to just keep getting away with not getting TKO'd. Lipski's pretty athletic, has decent power for the division, and I think she catches Cachoeira. And why I went inside the distance is because she also has nice subs, and if Cachoeira gets finished, it's by submission. So covering my bases there, taking Lipski by inside the distance, plus 250.
Plus 250. Yeah, I like that. That's a good number. And yeah, what was her sub prop at? Did you have that noted down?
No, I didn't.
I had looked at that. Let me see if I can pull that up here quick. I had looked at that, and it was a pretty decent number. I think it was like plus 400 or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Lipski by submission. Oh, plus 550. Okay. Yeah. That's a spot I don't mind too. Let's see what Lou has to say here. What business does Kyle have with this mustache? I can't afford that. This is not okay with Lou. And yeah, Lou hit the lips. I just watched Lou's sub prop or Lou's prop show right before this. Lipski at plus 550 sub. Yeah, Lou's, if y'all haven't checked it out, check out Lou's prop show. Is called Props to Consider and Also Maybe Bet. Make sure to check out.
I like that.
And it's awesome because it's literally like 8 to 10 minutes long. He just goes boom, 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 and gives you the props and gets out of there. So yeah, it's good stuff. Where did we leave off here? We were at number 4, I think. Yeah, all right. So for my fourth, and I still am like doubting myself and thinking this number can't be right, but I think it is. Miranda Granger by sub at plus 1,600.
That is crazy.
That just seems like a weird number to me. I looked at BetOnline. It's only at plus 900 on BetOnline, but BetOnline always has terrible numbers compared to some of the other books. But several of the books on Best Fight Odds are showing that at plus 1600. Obviously, Granger has a lot of size here. She has 4 inches of height. She has almost 10 inches of reach. She's going to be quite a bit bigger. I think, Corey McKenna, one would hope that Corey McKenna is going to look to grapple here. If she doesn't,
Right.
if she doesn't look to grapple here, then you're going to feel pretty bad if you're putting her in parlays or betting her at the number she's at right now. So, one would assume that Corey McKenna is going to look for this fight to play out mostly on the ground, or at least in clinching situations, in grappling situations. And Miranda Granger has 5 of her 7 pro wins are by submission, right? And she's going to have, kind of a size and lank advantage here. So that number just seems off to me. I don't necessarily think Miranda Granger by sub is a likely outcome of this fight, but I think it might be more likely than suggested by plus 1600. So that's a spot that, like I said, I use BetOnline for my props. Since I'm in Nevada, I'm not able to use some of the books that have better lines. So the plus 900 is not as appealing to me, so I may not play it. But if I had that plus 1600, I'd probably have to sprinkle that, because that seems like a pretty good line.
I just took a look. My book has it plus 1600.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just feels off to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's just they're thinking Granger loses this fight. But yeah, that does seem odd, because if she wins, it's probably by sub.
Yeah. Lou says, "Where's Kyle's glassware? Is this no longer a thing?" I'll tell you what, Lou, that tradition did live a lot longer than I thought it would, considering I never made it any kind of official thing and never told anybody. I don't know if you know about this, Kyle. Lou was my first ever guest on this show, and he drank out of a fancy stemmed glass, and then that just like perpetuated, and it became a thing. And I think for probably the first probably 5, 6, 7 weeks of the show, the guests kept coming on with a stemmed glass, even though I never told them to or anything. It just became a thing. And so, yeah, that was kind of cool.
I should have brought a glass in here.
Brady is betting McKenna. Brady's getting kicked out of the company. Yeah, no kidding.
For my fourth, I kind of lumped a couple here together, and this is where I'm going on Jason Witt. I think Jason Witt can win this fight. He also can get TKO'd. So I have Quinlan round 1 at plus 200, but I'm putting that together with Jason Witt inside the distance at plus 550 and Jason Witt round 2 plus 1600. I have questions with Quinlan after that steroid debacle, especially how he dealt with it. People are saying that it's a good thing that he just admitted to doing steroids. I don't think it is. I think the way he was just like, yeah, you caught me, I cheated, lends itself to somebody who maybe is weak-minded. Maybe he feels like he needs steroids to get that edge. And a guy like Witt, who can take you down and really ground you, can beat the will of someone who's like, oh shit, maybe I'm not as strong off steroids. Maybe Jason Witt, maybe I can't beat these guys. And that style that Witt brings, I think, is just perfect for that. And I think he'll get a finish if that's true. And that's totally like a random theory, that a conspiracy theory almost. But if Quinlan's in that mindset, Witt is a perfect guy to break him. And I like putting that with Quinlan round 1, because I think if he wins it, he just starches him right away. But yeah, I'm mixing those together. So Quinlan round 1 is plus 200. Jason Witt inside the distance is plus 550. And Jason Witt round 2 is plus 1600.
I like that a lot. Yeah, it's a really interesting matchup, because really my faith with, putting Quinlan in the parlay, and then also I have already bet Quinlan by KO and Quinlan by KO in round 1. Really, it's based, the X factor here is simply Witt's terrible chin, right? Like, if it wasn't for that, I would feel very differently about this fight. If Witt was a guy who didn't have that chin issue, it's an incredibly winnable fight for him stylistically, right? If that chin's not there. So yeah, it's one of those things where if Quinlan can't catch him, then yeah, the fight's going to look a whole lot different, I think. So like I said, I have already bet Quinlan. I may have to look at, I hadn't looked at like those round props, like round 2 plus 1600 for Witt. Like I hadn't looked at any of that sort of thing. So I may have to sprinkle a little something for Witt too, to cover myself on those. Cause I do think that if he is able to get takedowns and Quinlan's not able to catch him on the feet, it's absolutely a very winnable fight for Witt. Lou says Kyle is a psychopath and I am here for it. Quinlan is minus 200 because of Witt's chin, not because of his. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking. It really is about the chin here largely. Okay, moving on to number 5, and I'm on the opposite side of you here. This is where I get into some weirdness. I mean, I guess I did a little bit with Granger by sub, it being at plus 1600, but we're jumping up to some pretty big numbers here. I always got to get a little weird with it at the end. At plus 2200, Priscilla Cachoeira by KO in round 3. Ooh. And I do, and like you, I do like Lipski to win this fight. I think Lipski, obviously it's one of those fights where, the breakdown comes down to, we've got the better fighter versus, like you said, Priscilla Cachoeira is not that good, but sometimes that doesn't end up mattering that much. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's one of those
100%.
So, yeah. So it's like, and we know that Cachoeira is a dog. We know she's the zombie girl. We know she can tend to, kind of up the zombie factor a little bit late in the fight sometimes and really come on. So I thought that number plus 2200 is potentially worth a sprinkle for her to get after it zombie girl style late in the fight and potentially find a finish.
I like that. These are the fights that I've been saying in my breakdowns that I'm going to try to avoid gambling on. But I don't mind like the long shot props or anything like that. But it's so hard because I do like Lipski in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
I went with my next pick. I went with longer odds as well and got a little weird with it. I'm going Sam Alvey by split decision at plus 2,500.
Love it.
Sam Alvey is a guy who's obviously on a huge losing streak right now. But when you watch him fight, when he's coming forward, he's actually pretty good. He's really frustrating to watch because he does have success when he's in there. He's a strong guy, trains with Dan Henderson, has forever. And I think the KO for a while when he was getting all those crazy KOs, I think that was kind of fluky. He's low output, but he can do some damage. And if Olajaychuk has a bad weight cut, he could be in for it against Sam Alvey, who's always a strong guy. Split decision plus 2,500. I'll throw a little bit on there.
Dude, I love that. The way that I prepare for this show, I always just make a list of props that I like. I just kind of look through and I just make a list at first, and then I go through and look up the numbers and sort of pick and choose which 6 that I actually want to go with. And I make a line on my list and I drop some of them below that line. And one of the ones that I have below the line that didn't make the cut today is Sam Alvey by KO in round 3 at plus 4,500.
Oh my God.
And yeah, like, I mean, we've seen Olajaychuk slow down. Like you said, he's making that weight cut for the first time. Sam Alvey by KO in round 3 at plus 4,500. Like, I mean, that, is it going to happen? Probably not. But if Sam Alvey were to win the fight, that's a likely way that he would do it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing is with Olajaychuk, he'd usually get that size advantage dropping down, but Sam Alvey fights at 205 as well, so he's not even going to have that size advantage.
All right, Lou called me out here. Are we not mentioning the obvious bet for the Cachoeira fight? Don't make me say it. Go ahead and type it out, Lou. I'll throw it up on the screen. I know exactly what bet Lou made for the Cachoeira fight, and she is the kind of fighter who definitely sort of pushes you toward making that kind of bet, as we've seen her reach back and rake the eyes and do kind of whatever she has to do to win. Yeah, Lou's talking about his famous yam bag bet, which is basically a bet for it's clam bag in this case, I guess, but yeah, it's basically betting on a point to be taken away in the fight. And Lou plays at least one of those every card. And yeah, I think this is a good spot to do it because we know that Cachoeira is not afraid to get a little wild with it sometimes. All right, that brings us to Number 6, the final part. Like I said, Sam Alvey by KO in round 3 is not one of my official ones. That's plus 4,500. That's a even bigger number than the one I'm giving out here. But this is a weird one. Are you ready for a weird one, Kyle? Can you handle a weird one?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's at plus 2,900.
Ooh.
Plus 2,900. Erik Gonzalez in round 2.
Okay.
Right? So, like, I mean, I think the breakdown is pretty obvious there. Yeah, the breakdown's pretty obvious there, right? I mean, I think, I agree with where the line is at in this fight as far as how likely it is that Terrence McKinney finishes Erik Gonzalez in round 1. I think that is absolutely the most likely outcome here. But we know, I mean, from what we've seen from Terrence McKinney, we know I don't even think it's fair to call him a 1-round fighter. He's about a 3-minute fighter. He's about a 4-minute fighter, right? Like, I mean, a lot of his, even when he loses, it's usually even late in round 1. Yeah. But, I liked getting the slightly crazier number here and jumping it up to plus 2,900. So yeah, if we do, which would also be a great live betting spot, if we do see this fight go into the second round, I think we could see the tides change quite a bit. I think we could see Terrence McKinney. I mean, unless the guy's still pretty young, we could still see him come out at some point. And like, is he a guy who's really going to fight like that for his entire career and expect that he's going to be able to continue climbing the ladder and continue to have a career at the UFC level? Or will we eventually see him sort of change it up and wise up a little bit with his approach? I don't know. We don't know until we see. And so we have to expect that he's going to come out and be the Terrence McKinney that we've always seen him be. And if he's not able to get that round 1 finish, I think it becomes pretty likely that he doesn't win the fight if we see the fight get into round 2. And so when I saw a number like plus 2,900 and Erik Gonzalez in round 3 is like plus 4,000, plus 5,000, crazy, like crazy. That. And so, yeah, I think it's a spot to keep an eye on as far as live betting, but Erik Gonzalez in round 2 plus 2,900. I don't know. I've been trying to stay away from sprinkling so many of these crazy props because I've been losing my ass at those but I think that's a pretty enticing number.
That is a crazy number. And yeah, I totally get it. If Terrence McKinney gasses out again, will he make that same mistake twice? I don't know. I like T-Rex. I like his story. I like the whole thing. I hope he gets that win. But my last one's going to be Sergey Spivak by submission at plus 250. I like Spivak. I think he's going to take Augusto Sakai down if he's smart. Spivak's been taking everyone down. And on the ground, he has brutal ground and pound, which hopefully gets Augusto Sakai to roll and we get the submission.
Yeah, I like that. That was one of the ones I also had on my list and moved it down. But yeah, I do have Spivak in a parlay here already, and I think that sub is pretty likely here. Yeah. That was one of those fights where I was almost thinking about, like I say, every week, I'm like, I got to quit playing so many props. And then I talk about doing crap like this. I was like, I almost thought about being like, you could bet Spivak by sub here and bet Sakai by KO because it's probably going to be one of those two, but I haven't done that. But yeah, it's probably going to be one of those two, right?
Yeah, awesome. I looked up your Quinlan within 60 seconds is plus 800. Not even Quinlan, just the fight in general. So.
Yeah, that's I've been thinking about that. Like, yeah, if you had access to one of those plus 800, you said?
Yeah. As soon as you said it, I was like, I got to look that up. Because that's a pretty good bet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a spot I'd probably take if I had access to that. That's pretty good. I like that a lot. Daz says, I reckon he always fights that way. Always. Yeah. I reckon he does too. I wonder if he's even capable of, fighting in another way. But maybe it's also one of those things, like his style, Terrence McKinney, of course, we're talking about his style, like may not be something that's going to continue to work for him, the higher and higher up he gets. But at the same time, it could even be one of those things where it's like, okay, do you change your style in order to potentially continue to find more and more success, or do you just be the fighter that you are? And I could see Terrence McKinney being one of those guys who's like, man, this is how I fight. Right. Even this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go out on my shield. I'm either going to get him out of there. Yeah. Like I think he might just be a guy who's like, this is who I am. And I can respect that for sure.
Yeah. And I think he'll do a lot more smashing than getting smashed. He's a beast.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those things that, you have to have the chin and the toughness. And you have to have what it takes to get through that 2 or 3 minutes of the storm he's going to throw at you, you know. And if you, regardless of how good of a fighter you are, regardless of what you're capable of offensively, if you can't survive what he's going to throw at you in that first 2 to 3 minutes, it's lights out. So yeah, it's a scary guy to get in there against for sure, because you know what you're going to have to deal with. Cool. Awesome. Well, that's about it, Kyle. Is there any other props you wanted to mention, or anything else you wanted to say about this card at all?
I think that's all the props. I think this is a little bit of a harder gambling card for props. Like, I love some of those long shots, but I think I'm going to have a smaller card than normal this week.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the same. Like I had my spots that I really liked that I put in earlier in the week, and then what I always tend to do is, like, on Friday or even sometimes on Saturday morning, I throw in a couple props and I make a couple parlays. And I've been trying to go back and look at the cards and be like, all right, what would my results have been here if I would have stuck with the bets that I made early in the week that I actually felt really good about, and not just pulled the trigger on a bunch of crap at the last minute? So I keep telling myself I'm not going to do that, and then I do it anyway, but I'm hopefully going to actually stick to it this week. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. Awesome. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of let everybody know where they can find you and kind of what you've got going on as far as just, you know, what NeverHedge is doing or content creation you've got going on, or whatever you want to tell us.
Yes, you can find me at NeverHedge on Twitter. And yeah, we have Erik, Scott, who's at NeverHedge Podcast on Twitter, and then Manny, MMA Fight Club. And we're going to be working together and putting out great content. Like I said, I want to build that community. So we're doing the Survivor Pool right now. The Survivor Pool is running great. I was shocked at how few picks are left. There's no one with more than 2 picks. Most everyone's down to either, you know, 1 or 2 picks, but there's tons with 1. I'm out. I got out early. I went for the underdogs, but I want to run more contests like that. The Discord is where I'm on there every fight day. I'm on there every day. Our Discord community is awesome. I'll put the link under this video, or I'll comment it underneath for the Discord, because that's really where you want to be is in the Discord.
Cool. And yeah,
I did everything. It's all free.
I did put the links down there for your Twitter and for your YouTube. But yeah, anybody watching this, if you haven't, make sure to check out the NeverHedge Discord, and also the NeverHedge Substack newsletter. Something Kyle's been doing for quite a while. He puts out his tape study notes, and he puts out his official bets, and he also puts out some things like some recipes for your fight night eats and stuff like that. And then I've been putting my tape study notes out on there as well. So you get, you know, probably 2 to 3 to 4 different things published on there every week, you know, fight related to food related to whatever, but yeah, mostly fight related anyway. But yeah, NeverHedge, just in general, the NeverHedge community is a really cool thing. And Kyle and also Scott and myself and Manny are all looking to grow it in various ways and find various ways to continue to bring people in and continue to get people interacting in this community in various ways related to MMA fandom. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a cool thing to be a part of. And it's really cool that Kyle not only created all of that, but saw fit to bring me in to be a part of it as well. So it's a very cool thing.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you so much to everybody. Everybody in the chat. We've got Sickies in here, Lou's in here, Blood Money. Daz was in here, Patrick from Addicted to Combat, Dale from Punch List was in here. That's not everybody, but I wanted to shout out a few people. Thomas Lucia, Victor De Jesus. Thanks to everybody for stopping in. If you're watching this after the fact, please make sure to give us a like here. Make sure to subscribe to Erik Betts Fights right here on your YouTube. If you're watching this on the NeverHedgeMedia YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe there. Also, if you can leave a comment, that always helps us out too with the algorithms. Maybe leave us a comment. Let us know what is your favorite prop bet on the card. Thank you so much to everybody for being here. I am Erik with Erik Betts Fights. I hope you all enjoy the fights this weekend. Good luck on your bets, and take care, everybody.